Welcome to this overview of the book, Happy Sexy Millionaire by Steven Bartlett, the founder of the social media marketing agency Social Chain. In this title, Steven uses the word happiness to describe an internal feeling of fulfillment rather than a mood, because our mood can change, but feeling fulfilled is a consistent feeling. Sexy is used to capture a deeper why, which is we want to be loved. And millionaire is used to mean success, which is why this book is subtitled Unexpected Truths About Fulfillment, Love and Success, as it covers how in his journey from broke to multi-millionaire, Steven realized that most of the messages he received growing up were wrong. Steven starts his story by sharing that at the time of writing this book, he was 28 and reflecting how a black kid born in Africa, raised in a bankrupt home, kicked out of school, and who dropped out of university had achieved his personal goals, which basically came down to being a sexy millionaire with a girlfriend and a fancy car by the age of 25. But he was also reflecting on how wrong he had been about how he would feel when he ticked these things off as achieved, as well as that he was wrong about how you go about attaining happiness, love, and success. This reflection started when he had the epiphany that he wasn't any happier at 25 with all the status symbols he could want than he had been when he was 12 and had nothing. He realized that happiness is not a finite game. It is never something that can be ticked off as done, no matter how successful you become. And knowing you are happy will never happen until you give up the idea that happiness is going to be achieved with something like a new relationship, being a certain dress size, driving a certain type of car, etc. Because, as Lao Tzu alluded, happiness can only be obtained by detaching ourselves from a destination mindset, and because you are already enough just as you are. And one of the greatest paradoxes is that people then assume if I'm already enough, there is nothing to motivate me. But in truth, knowing you're enough frees you to strive for the things you really want. It is the difference between feeling you need something because marketing tells you those who have these things are better, richer, smarter, more successful, etc. than you, and feeling you deserve something because it satisfies your sense of self-worth and ability. However, the problem between buying because I feel insecure and buying because it reflects my sense of self-worth and ability is it infers we are rational decision makers, when research has shown the human mind is deeply irrational and largely driven by subconscious impulses, hormones, survival instincts, and the emotions these things create. Steven compares this way of being to a lazy CEO who makes lightning-fast, socially biased decisions based on your past experiences, the media narratives you've been exposed to, and your innate desire to survive. But even worse, when there are several choices, this lazy CEO isn't consistent in how it does this. Rather, it starts to classify things into a version of bargain, better, and best, and what decisions should be assigned to these categories, which means we determine the intrinsic value of something based on the context we are viewing it in. So it is hardly surprising this CEO takes what it knows of us and compares us to what it sees out in the world, and then delivers a verdict of better than, same as, or less than. And a lot of the time we aren't even consciously aware it has done this. So how to stop our mind doing it? Unfortunately, you can't, because the mind is wired to compare. But there are scientifically proven things you can do to circumnavigate this. First, choose carefully who you expose your lazy CEO to on social media. You may think it's fun watching, but what is the gap between what you want and what you are watching? If it is truly fun, there is no gap, because either you don't aspire to what you are watching or it fits in with your sense of self-worth and ability. And it definitely isn't feeding a judgment by your lazy CEO that you're happier and more successful than they are. So start changing who you follow and what you are consuming in all forms across your life. Make your context smaller, healthier, and more real. The second is to be truly grateful. The key here is the word truly, which means absolutely feeling physiologically how lucky you are, and feeling this on a regular basis. because this gives your lazy CEO a much better context and healthier responses because you're noticing what is going right. And that means we get a shot of dopamine, which reinforces how good this is, rather than our usual to-do list triggering our anxiety and concern. We're basically useless. But you can't expect gratitude to just show up because it really does. You have to consciously and consistently invite it in. And you can do this when you realize the only worthwhile comparison is you yesterday versus you today in relation to what you are focusing on. Another way of circumnavigating our lazy CEO is negative visualization. This is imagining all the people and things you take for granted disappearing from your life, because really allowing yourself to feel what it would be like without all these things in your life allows you to realize just how lucky you are to have them. Alternatively, you can practice poverty. This is choosing to stop something in your life for a time so you truly appreciate it when you reintroduce it. This strategy is aimed at breaking the cycle of wanting more and instead embracing both enjoying less and enjoying what we have more. But ultimately, our gratitude comes from what we consider special, and special comes from the things we have had to say no to in order to have what we have. For example, being grateful for your loving partner means you have foregone chasing every person you find attractive. And Stephen shares he now does this gratitude consideration before falling asleep and again in the morning, with the goal of listing one thing in the notes section of his phone. Sometimes it is just a few words, sometimes it's more like an essay, and sometimes it's just a song. But whatever it is, the practice confirms to Stephen that he has more than enough and that he feels he is enough. Part of the issue with the comparison our lazy CEO is making is the fairy tale that these are the milestones we should have achieved. Yes, life is a quest for continued forward momentum, but it is not for ticking off done, 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 as that leads to dissatisfaction and chaos, because really do we feel how we expected to feel when we reach this point? Instead, it is embracing the state of striving, as that is what provides us with stability and satisfaction, because we grow throughout the process and we are all different as to what that path looks like for us. Stephen challenges that questions like, have you found your purpose? Is it love? What's your why? Are they your soulmate? And advice like follow your passion are anxiety-inducing bullshit, because they cause disproportionate amounts of anxiety, stress, and chronic overthinking, because everyone thinks they should instinctively know these things and or their answers need to be socially acceptable. And therefore, they make people feel there is something wrong with them if they don't conform to the expected pattern, when there is nothing wrong with not having a fixed passion for one thing, because there is nothing to find, only to create. And realizing this allows you to write new rules for your life based on what is true for you and based on the world you're living in now. And these new rules may include quitting. Stephen covers that a lot is written about the courage it takes to start something, but not enough is written about the courage it takes to quit something. This simple quitting decision flowchart is one that Stephen shares has guided him through the pivotal moments in his life in an anxiety-free, decisive way. Stephen also doesn't advocate the need to have something to go to. We just need to have a lot of faith in ourselves and in the rationale underpinning our decision, especially when we're in the midst of chaos, as the chaos you find yourself in is nearly always less fatal than it seems to be in the moment. Because you can control your behavior, emotions, and actions from the moment chaos arrives to the moment it subsides, because the event has happened and you can't control it. And Stephen shares what most of us would consider a doozy of a perfect storm, when his company lost 80% of its clients after a security systems breach. The wonderful thing is, just as you can choose your responses in this type of situation, you can also decide how you will be at other times through what you believe. Stephen uses the example of willpower and research showing if you believe you have great willpower, or you believe you don't, you are right. Because all those labels you slap on yourself or accept from other people as to what you are or aren't are programming you to be exactly that. And Stephen shares the same applies to consistency because it is the most common factor in the story of every successful person he has ever met, but also the most underrated because it is totally invisible until its results can easily be seen. And this applies to every area of our life. So protect your invisible PR because success depends on it. Further, if we want to be successful, we need to catch when we are lying to ourselves. We are all aware of the sentence structure, X made me Y because of Z. For example, my husband made me angry because he made us miss our dinner reservation. However, this sentence structure mitigates all the responsibility you have over your mood and hands the keys to your emotions to an external force. The problem is you are likely to stay in this loop because you aren't addressing the part you are playing in what you are experiencing. However, if you say, I made myself angry over X, you will start addressing your stories because you are recognizing you are doing it to you, that you alone are responsible for how you are feeling. Stephen shares, if you want to be successful in your industry, identify the basics of what makes someone in your industry successful and make sure you are also good at these things. But don't stop there. Identify what additional skills are going to differentiate you from those other successful people so you are the most successful person in your industry. This is those skills that aren't usually found in the same person. For Stephen, his differentiation was the other social media marketing CEOs didn't have the skills of building their own social media audience, public speaking, and sales, so these things set him apart. But no, you cannot get away from spending a few hours of deliberate, focused daily practice to build those skills so you stand apart where it matters because those skills are valued. But this is time you're already using in some unproductive way if you're like most people. So don't think it's something on top of what you're already doing. Stephen shares that the best analogy he found for time slipping away on an unproductive distractions is an egg timer, and that he has several that he flips from time to time to remind himself how easily we can allow our lives to slip away because it always seems we have all the time in the world. But how different would our choices be if we could see our own personal sand timer showing us how much time we have left? Would you decide to live aligned to your values? What are the things you're willing to sacrifice everything for? Which finish line is worth the marathon? Which mountaintop is worth the climb? And once you know that, become a master of no, because your life right now is the result of what you did a year ago. Your life a year from now will be the result of what you do right now. Stephen's purpose for writing this book is to remove bullshit social brainwashing from our mind and replace it with practical, scientifically proven sets of unconventional ideas that will help us to find the fulfillment, love, and success that we're all craving and searching for, so we build truly meaningful lives. Which means none of us actually want to be a sexy, famous millionaire. We don't want a pile of stuff, we don't want a sports car, and we don't want a mansion. We just fundamentally want the thing that we believe those things are going to make us feel. And your wealth, success, fame, and accomplishments will only be worthwhile if they serve an ultimate goal of making you happy. This is an easy-to-read book. Stephen covers the research and motivational theories that back up his ahas of why he felt as he did and what he really needed to do. And this book is a good starting place if you are feeling you are out of step with society or just not meeting society's expectations, as Stephen walks the reader through the thinking behind his conclusions and reminds the reader regularly they are unique and in charge of their choices. Thank you for viewing this video. Please like, subscribe, and click on the notification bell if you would like to be notified when further book overviews are uploaded.